Great. Okay, welcome to this special webinar from the Foreign Correspondents Club. I'd like our president, Mr. Venkat Narayan, to start this evening's proceedings.
A warm welcome to you, Dr. Vinay Sahasrabuddhe, and all the other distinguished colleagues and participants. We were to do this 10 weeks ago. It so happened that the lockdown was announced and we had to put it off. And it is happening at an interesting point of time. Tomorrow, the United Nations General Assembly meets and India will be elected as a non-permanent member of the Security Council for the 8th time. And on Sunday, the International Day of Yoga will be celebrated all over the world. That was also an Indian initiative started by Prime Minister Modi. And we are delighted to have with us Dr. Vinay Sahasrabuddhe, a senior leader of the BJP and president of the Indian Council for Cultural Relations. Let me briefly introduce Dr. Sahasrabuddhe. He is a member of the Rajya Sabha and also the National Vice President of the Bharatiya Janata Party. An activist researcher at the core, Sahasrabuddhe happens to be the Vice President of Ram Bhav Malgi Prabodhini, RMP as well. RMP is South Asia's only training and research academy for elected representatives and voluntary social workers. Having headed the BJP's training cell for more than a decade, Sahasrabuddhe is currently national in charge of the party's policy, research, and good governance wings. As a student activist, he had offered satyagraha and was behind the bars during the emergency in 1975. He was National Secretary of the Akhil Bharatiya Vidyarthi Parishad, ABVP. He has worked as a member on the Senate and Management Council of the University of Mumbai for several years. He has served the boards of governors of academies like Yashida and the Sardar Patel Institute of Public Administration as a member. He was vice president of the Asiatic Society of Mumbai, a 208-year-old prestigious society during 2013 and 15. A freelance journalist since his college days, Sahasrabuddhe is a regular contributor to several Marathi and English language dailies and weeklies, and a blogger as well. The University of Mumbai awarded him a doctorate in politics in 2009 for his thesis, Political Parties as Victims of Populism and Electoral Compulsions, a quest for systemic solutions. His research was later published as a book titled Beyond a Billion Ballots. Sahasrabuddhe has been an active participant in the Rajya Sabha with almost 100% attendance. Parliament has appointed him to the Court of Delhi University, to the Indian Council of World Affairs, ICCR, and as a member of the Press Council of India. His latest book, The Innovation Republic, capturing 17 key innovations made by the Modi government, is currently receiving critical acclaim. We are delighted to have you with us, Dr. Sahasrabuddhe. May I now invite the FCC Secretary, Munish Gupta, to moderate the discussion.
Thank you, Venkat. Thank you, Vinayji, for joining us. And it was a pleasure to have hopefully hosted you on 8th March, but good to have you back with us. And now this is the new normal. You know, webinars are the new normal, and it actually brings people closer together. So we thought that this interaction with the International Day of Yoga, India's cultural diplomacy, was important to have with you and the members of our club. We have several senior members of the club who have already joined in. Others will be watching it live. So with those few words, I would request you to make your special remarks today, and then we'll open it up to a Q&A session. Thank you.
Thank you, Venkataji, and thank you, Munish Gupta ji. And thanks to all the members who are participating in this webinar. First of all, let me thank the Foreign Correspondents Club for having me over here. It's both a pleasure and also a privilege to be amongst the fraternity of foreign correspondents here in Delhi. This year happens to be the 70th year of the Indian Council for Cultural Relations. This institution was established as India's basic soft power arm kind of in 1950s, when the term soft power was not even around. And as we know, that ICCR has been working in multiple areas, basically offering scholarships to students, conducting classes in Hindi, Sanskrit, yoga, Bharatanatyam, and traditional Indian knowledge systems. At the same time, sending troops of artists, maybe in classical music, classical dance, theater, and so on and so forth, to places abroad, and also hosting men of letters and people, eminent persons from the world of arts here in India. And through these kinds of activities, ICCR has been pursuing its institutional mission, which is basically enhancing the literacy about Indian culture world over. And this is very important in the present day context, because I believe, this is as a student of international relations, my perspective, which I am sharing with you, that perhaps it was not for no reason that the term soft power emerged somewhere around 1990, because it was in that decade we saw the end of the Cold War in a way, because of the Soviet Union becoming a thing of the past, and a new setup coming into existence in what is now being known as Eurasia. And people also must have realized, perhaps by that time, that occupying geographical space is not only very difficult, but perhaps a huge cost will have to be paid for that. And therefore, the emphasis must have shifted upon occupying mind space. And I believe occupying mind space is one of the parameters of soft power, if I may interpret it that way as a student of international relations. And therefore, the term soft power arrived somewhere around 1990, and then people world over started discussing what is soft power and what are its limitations and what are its strengths and so on and so forth. Happily, India enjoyed a place of prominence in so far as the world of soft power is concerned. I am saying so because the modern history tells us that the very discovery of India started because of India's soft power. Because the voyagers like Columbus and thereafter Vasco da Gama set out to locate where this land known as India is, because they badly needed spices to be uninterruptedly coming to the Europe. And as I said, spices are also one of the ingredients of Indian soft power. And therefore, the modern history of India, as the world knows, starts with, in a way, India's soft power. And even today, and many of you are representing some foreign journals over here, and I'm sure you are aware of this fact. And whatever little exposure I could get visiting some countries abroad, I realized, and I believe everybody would agree with it, that perhaps India enjoys a very unique position, because in every nook and corner of the globe, people are very curious to know about India. Nowhere I did come across that people are hating India or Indians for that matter. There might be a few cases here and there in certain countries, but they are exceptions. Generally speaking, India enjoys a huge amount of goodwill in the global community. There is curiosity, there is goodwill as well, but proportionate to the amount of goodwill, perhaps I would say that the level of understanding about the idea of India is not commensurate. And therefore, the task of institutions like ICCR, I believe, is a cut role kind of, that we have to convert this goodwill about India into a kind of an understanding about India, which is also the idea of India, what India is all about. And therefore, towards that end, we have been working during the last 70 years or so through multiple activities. And the latest that we have added to our activity chart is, of course, the International Yoga Day. But before I reflect upon that, let me also share with you some of our new initiatives. There was a reference about the lockdown, and most of us are, as was referred, that using this new normal, which is webinars and similar kinds of activities to exchange ideas, views. But not only that, many people are also using internet platforms to join or to audit some of the courses on some platforms, where you can do a 5-hour course, 10-hour course, 15-hour course, say, and how to understand the language of the birds. Maybe there are some courses even on subjects like this. And therefore, many people are engaged into adding to their knowledge base and their understanding. So we at ICCR decided, having taken advantage of this internet-based learning, which is a new normal in a way, that we should be coming out with a new platform. And we have decided, and hopefully by 15th August, we would be launching this platform, which we have named as Universalization of Traditional Indian Knowledge Systems, which is UTICS. And on this platform, we will be hosting, with the help of institutions like Sangeet Natak Academy, in Indira Gandhi National Center for Arts, or the National Gallery of Modern Art, or the CCRT, which is Center for Cultural Resources and Training, which are all government organizations. And they have a huge amount of collection of audio, video material, which is about Indian culture and various facets of Indian culture. And using this material, and in collaboration with these institutions, we will be offering short-term courses in introduction to Indian classical music, Indian classical dances, Indian culinary and cuisine traditions, Ramayana, Mahabharata, even our traditional arts like Rangoli and Mehendi, and so on and so forth. So we are planning, it's an ambitious plan though, that by the end of this year, which, as I said, is the 70th year after the foundation of ICCR, we are planning to have at least 70 courses launched before next March, which is March 2021. And this is something which is on our cards. We are also launching a new program, basically to the foreign students which are visiting, coming India. And as you are aware, the Prime Minister and the Finance Minister of India also had referred to India being converted into a hub of higher education, a global hub of higher education. Now, to that end, we already in the last January organized the first of its kind conference in Pune, which was rightly named as Destination India, wherein we organized coming together of vice chancellors, educationists, representatives of foreign students organizations, and even some ambassadors and consul generals as well, as to understand what exactly do they expect, and also prepare a roadmap as to how we can make India a hub of higher education of global standard. And to that end also, we are working very vigorously. During the last couple of years, at least at 3 times, we engaged with the Niti Aayog, the prime policy body, which has been working in on policy issues. And the basic theme, when we organized a series of brainstorming, wherein all departments were invited, relevant departments and their representatives. And the idea was to discuss and appreciate and understand the centrality of cultural relationship for the vibrancy of diplomatic, strategic, and economic relationships across the countries. Because I believe in the days to come, although, I mean, it has always been a question that most of the international organizations are around either security related issues or economics and commerce related issues, while most of the problems being faced by humanity are about culture. But unfortunately for that, there is no common platform. And I recall what Prime Minister Modi had said when he first delivered his lecture in the United Nations General Assembly in 2014 as the Prime Minister of India, where he had wondered that as a kind of uh, a newcomer into the international scenario, he had some questions as to why there are organizations like G8 and G20 and G70 and G this and G that. And he said in his speech, in so many words, that at least on certain issues, why there cannot be a G all. And I think this is a very magnificent idea that the world, the global community can come together on issues which are afflicting the entire humanity for that matter. And therefore, once again, I believe the centrality of cultural relationship is something which doesn't require a great elaboration. Now, coming to the International Yoga Day, which, as all of us know, is the fifth IYD that the world will be observing on the coming 21st of June. And within such a short span of time, I think yoga has really reached places, and it has become a part of human consciousness in most part of the world. And people have also started practicing yoga. I can compare it with similar efforts by even India, for that matter, that maybe about 12, 13 years back, we mooted the idea of observing 2nd October as International Non-Violence Day. And while it was instituted by the United Nations, since it didn't have any operational aspect as such, perhaps it couldn't create the buzz that we would have been able to. But IYD had certainly become a global event kind of. I myself had the good fortune of participating in International Yoga Day celebration a couple of years back, which right in the precincts of the United Nations headquarters in New York. And I was witness to the enthusiasm with which people from different communities had come together over there. So International Yoga Day, if I may look back as to what exactly we have been trying to achieve, I think we wanted essentially the global community to realize that yoga is not just about a physical drill or a breathing pattern or a body sculpting exercise. It is apparently a set of physical actions that have a deep psychological impact, improving one's mental health as well as spiritual well-being. Through this approach, I believe many activities have already taken place in several parts of the globe, and we find that there are many people who are running their own version of yoga classes, in their own style. And yoga, and perhaps most of the Indian sciences, has this beauty that there is perfect democracy. We don't kind of straitjacket anything, and we don't say that only this particular size will fit all. Every other way of observing Yoga Day is also very welcome. Secondly, I believe what IYD has achieved is opening up the universal knowledge repository for the people across the globe. And therefore, although yoga originated in India, it is a global property today. And therefore, the entire global community is now attracted towards yoga because of the knowledge that it brings to you, the realization that it brings to you. Thirdly, I believe that the beauty of yoga is that it is basically a knowledge branch which one has to understand through a practitioner's track. I mean, there are some people who are theoreticians in yoga, but unless you practice yoga, you perhaps cannot have that command, which is something very unique about yoga. And therefore, yoga, to be a researcher in yoga, to be a student of yoga, you have to perform, you have to observe, you have to basically practice yoga because it is part of your experience. Yoga, I mean, many of you are aware, I need not elaborate, it means addition, literally speaking. and it also means coming together. And again, I think there are three ways in which yoga has influenced our thinking. First of all, it has underscored that your mind, that you have to integrate your mind with your body, which is very, very essential, and yourself within with your outward appearance. There has to be some integration into that. Secondly, your body parts with your entire body. That integration is also very, very required. And thirdly, an integration which is very difficult. It is easier said than done, but I think the message is loud and clear that it demands that one should integrate what one talks with what one walks. So this hypocrisy, which is all around in our modern day life, I think yoga has the strength of putting it to an end or limiting it at least. And I believe, if I may just have a look at what kind of research has already been accomplished by those who are researchers and practitioners of yoga, let me give you a kind of introduction to certain things about the whole body of research that has created by the researchers in yoga. Currently, especially, therapeutic benefits of yoga have become a part of great interest around the world. There is a university in Bengaluru which is known as Swami Vivekananda Yoga Anusandhan Sansthan, or SVYASA as the acronym goes, and they have put efforts to develop yoga modules for various non-communicable diseases such as diabetes, hypertension, back pain, cancer, etc., and several neurological problems such as schizophrenia, Parkinson's disease, or autism. All these things are also being treated through practice of yoga. Along with MD Anderson Cancer Institute, which is a famous institute, SVYASA has developed yoga module for palliative care of cancer. The cancer patients showed positive outcome in mental health. It has also been observed that it reduces physical problems and improvement in quality of life. Recently, SVYASA has conducted a nationwide control of diabetes campaign, or defeat diabetes campaign kind of through yoga. More than 4 lakh people have participated in this particular campaign, and the survey after they practice yoga for a particular period of time shows that there are remarkable results in reduction of diabetes or the incidence of diabetes. The major areas of SVYASA research investigations is on understanding beneficial role of yoga in human physiology, therapy, rehabilitation, and higher state of consciousness, which all, I believe, all the things are very, very important. Overall, this is mind-blowing to know that there are over 5,542 research publications in yoga available in PubAid. PubAid is a Google-type research engine where people who have some background to life sciences and biomedical would know that it provides you with all the research, all the results. And these many publications are available. Out of these publications, most of the studies are done in USA, Germany, and India, and some other parts of the world as well. This year, of course, in association with the Ayush Ministry, which is the leading kind of, or which is the captain of the celebration of IYD team, we are observing International Yoga Day in a very novel way, and we have announced a vlog competition or a video blog competition, wherein we are expecting the yoga practitioners to upload a 3-minute video of their own performance. I mean, they own performing yoga for about 1.5 minutes, and rest 1.5 minutes, they should tell us as to how yoga has benefited insofar as their health is concerned, and more importantly, how it has impacted on their life. So all these things in a very short 3-minute video, that is what we have appealed people to videograph it and upload it through their social media handles, and we are receiving a good response, and we have also got response from different countries. I don't have the data right now with me. It is being monitored by the Ayush Ministry. But this is how we are in these days of pandemic decided to observe the International Yoga Day. insofar as the event of IYD is concerned, I'm sure the Ayush Ministry has also worked on two more themes, which is family yoga and yoga in your home within the four walls of your houses. So on that also work is going on, and I'm sure even though people may not be coming together to observe this coming International Yoga Day on Sunday, 21st of June, people will be with equal enthusiasm observing this day, practicing yoga, and also videographing some of their experiences and uploading them through the social media handles. This is about the IYD. Now, there was a reference to India becoming the temporary member of the Security Council, although that particular subject is basically for those who are students of strategic relations and things like that. But let me comment on this, that while these memberships definitely are very, very important, and India, in fact, aspires to become a permanent member, which is the legitimate expectation. But whether that membership comes to us or not, one thing is there, that the challenges that are there before the community today or before the humanity today, I think India, through its soft power and various facets of it, is definitely going to occupy the mind space of a large global community. That is for sure. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vinayji. That was pretty comprehensive, very exhaustive, and I'm so glad that you touched upon almost all the topics that we are interested in. Before I move forward, I just wanted to introduce some of our other colleagues who have joined us here from the Foreign Correspondents Club Managing Committee. Very proud to have Mr. Tim Witcher. He's the South Asia head for AFP, and he's also the Vice President of the Foreign Correspondents Club. We have Mr. P.M. Narayanan, and he is the treasurer, the man with the money bags for the Foreign Correspondents Club. And I have another colleague who's from the managing committee. We have a very strong and big managing committee, but Anup Saxena from German radio is also here. PM is with German television. And there are many more people, I'm sure, who are watching it live on Facebook, as you can see. But thank you again. Before I let Venkat, Venkat has always got a lot of experience and a lot of questions, so he will ask the first question. But I am intrigued by what you said, and I just wanted to mention that in the modern era, India started with its supremacy in software, and now we are leaning towards soft power, and that's what we want to expand into. And IT is the best way to go. Digital transformation is what is helping us out in COVID-19 and is the future. And I'm so glad to see that ICCR, and I'm sure other wings of the government and political parties are using the benefits of digital technology to reach out. But it's very interesting that your soft power today is not confined to traditional knowledge, art and culture, but you're moving beyond to make India an education hub, a global education hub, which I think is, with the kind of institutions we have for medicine, technology at least, and now in economics and many other subjects. Hopefully you can include media in there, being a media person yourself, is very important. And I think that focus should grow, because if we really need to have that understanding of India, the touch and feel and coming to the country, even though people today fear travel, but I think it's going to go away. I mean, viruses will come and go, and so will this one. But, coming, touching, feeling experience is the only way you will learn, just like yoga, if you don't practice it. So what is the big thrust? Because you see, at the end of the day, when India wants to aspire and become a member and legitimately so of the Security Council, understanding India is key. So is there a very big thrust as part of the foreign policy, and how beyond all this are you carrying out cultural diplomacy?
Well, I think some of the indicators are already there, how our Prime Minister and the Ministry of External Affairs also is emphasizing on cultural aspects of our international relationship. But that is basically a kind of policy issue, and about that it would be better if the foreign ministry people themselves elaborately explain. But whatever the limited mandate we have as ICCR, I can only say that the understanding India is one of the important missions that we have set before our eyes. And therefore, for that, we have to break silos, come together, integrate with each other, and work as a team insofar as evolving this proper understanding of idea of India across the globe is concerned. For example, thousands of tourists come to India, but whether they go back with a proper understanding of India remains a question. Now we are talking with the Ministry of Tourism whether we can introduce some kind of a understanding India couple of hours program for them, and they could be attracted to take up the. Of course, those who are coming as a tourist, they may not like these lectures and presentations. I can understand, but even with that, if we can offer those who are willing, they may be coming. But today there is no. I mean, see, understanding any other foreign country is comparatively easy. India is a very complex country to understand. It's an experience, and I think as a student of international relations, I can say that when President Clinton came to India, I think after his visit to India, his approach changed. People say that this was true even in case of President Obama, for that matter. So India is an experience. No matter how many books you read about India or how many websites you visit to understand India, perhaps you cannot understand India unless you visit India. And therefore, people need to be coming over here, experiencing, and at the same time learning about what India exactly is. Otherwise, India continues to be an enigma, and that, of course, is not something which is favorable to us.
Great. Venkat, I'm sure you want to ask them.
Dr. SAHASRABUDDHE, we have Hatha Yoga, Patanjali Yoga, and several other forms of yoga in India. In the United States, some enterprising people of Indian origin have floated their own versions of yoga, and yoga is now a multi-billion-dollar business in the United States alone. And during a recent visit to Madrid, in a public park, I saw 50 women practicing yoga, doing exercises and all that. So as far as the government of India is concerned, is there any particular kind of yoga that is being promoted, like Patanjali Yoga? Or do we have any particular views? Or so long as it is yoga, never mind the name, let people practice it all over the world?
No, I don't think so, because the right answer should be coming officially and formally from the Ministry of Ayush. But as I understand, the government has only kind of prescribed certain fundamental, basic, very easy to practice yoga, and whether you call it Patanjali or this tradition or that tradition. There is a Mungir school in Bihar, for example, which is famous for its own yoga traditions. And then there are, for example, Sri Ravi Shankar ji, and then there are several other gurus as well who have their own version of yoga. And as I said, Indian traditional knowledge system is known for its democratic approach. So everything is welcome. Ekam sat vipra bahuda vadanti. That is the fundamental credo. And therefore, we don't mind whatever you do. Only thing is that do something regularly, practice. And as I said, it is not just a physical exercise. It has deeper impact on your emotional efficiency, emotional quotient as well. And therefore, understand it in a holistic manner and try to learn it through your own experiences. That is perhaps the fundamental.
I know that, I know that one of our members who has joined in at our invitation, Sujata from Cardiff, has to leave. So, Sujata, can you please make your comment and ask your question quickly?
Yeah, I have got a query actually, because I'm a trained yoga tutor from Hyderabad. So my guru comes from Hyderabad and I moved to UK. When I came here, I wanted to teach yoga. And they said, oh, are you a British Wheel of Yoga trainer? I said, no, I come from Land of Yoga, India. So here, as Mr. Venkat Narayanji said, we have to have, I think India, we should have a kind of I don't know what you say is standard for tutors. Maybe within India they should have. That will be good, because British Wheel of Yoga, they said unless and until you have that training, you cannot teach. But I said, I come from a land of yoga. They agreed that they said, okay, fine, as long as you have certificate, you can. But they have their own thing. It's a business. It's business, and people are creating their own. What is this British Wheel of Yoga? Sorry, I'm a British, but I feel bad because we are from India. I learned yoga from there. They want to discard that and say it has no value, but we have our own British Wheel of Yoga. And they don't do it properly, because when they teach, they said, oh, I can't teach you that. You're not supposed to do it because if you break your back, so they do very light exercises, and they say that, which is fine. That goes here in the UK, but the way we do it. But I strongly support Mr. Venkat. We should have kind of standardization of tutors. And I'm organizing one International Day of Yoga on Sunday.
Oh,
All my friends in India, and my guru is coming and giving a special speech. So I regard that. Thank you.
now, ma'am, your comments are very well taken, and I believe these are the initial years of IYD. And since the spread of yoga or understanding or literacy about yoga, we have seen how it has enhanced during the last 5 years. Now, perhaps we can reach up to that stage where we can standardize certain yoga exercises or yoga practices. I'm sure the government is conscious of this particular requirement, and sooner than later something will happen. I believe so.
Thank you.
Sir, there were many patents taken on turmeric and many other things by people across the world, and Government of India sometimes challenges them or supports people challenging them. But we don't challenge any patents on yoga. I know many people who have several patents on types of yoga. And is that something that you're going to stay away from because you feel that let people do what they're doing and practice?
No, as I said.
See, shall I tell you something? Like we were doing
yoga. We were just let us get an answer from him. I think we've lost him.
It's frozen, right? It's frozen.
1 second.
There's elaborate discussion, and so it would not be proper on my part to assume that whatever ICCR would believe in this regard would be acceptable to all others.
Yeah. One more question I have before I pass it on to other people is that I believe ICCR wishes to expand its centers globally. And you have in your plan opening up many centers.
Captains in this particular arena, and therefore, but I appreciate the need for some standard.
I don't know if you got my question, Vinayji. I said that ICCR plans to expand its physical centers across the world. And do you have any plans, like you've given your targets for March next year for you, for that platform you're creating? So how many centers, how many years?
I'm not able to hear you. Hello?
Can you hear me now?
Hello. You are not audible. Yeah. Now it is okay. Please go ahead. I was not able to.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah, please.
So I believe that ICCR plans to open a lot of physical centers across the world to carry forward its task and agenda.
Right.
So have you set a target just like you have for other platforms and other agenda? Are you going to set up some number of centers in some number of years?
No, well, we are reviewing, in fact, the efficiency, the impact of the existing centers, but definitely we will try and add. For example, recently we have opened up a center in Tel Aviv in Israel, and some centers are also likely to come up in certain other parts. For example, in US, in Washington, a center is going to be set up sooner than later. So we are going to add to the numbers. If not in a big way, but definitely we are at it.
Great. We have a question from one of our members who is an well-known Indian journalist. I'm sure you know of her also, Sarjana Sharma. Sarjana, would you ask your question?
डॉक्टर साहब नमस्ते.
नमस्ते जी, नमस्ते.
डॉक्टर साहब मेरा एक बहुत सीरियस सा क्वेश्चन है. I don't know आप आंसर दोगे या नहीं.
Sarjana ji, if you could ask in English for the benefit of everybody.
Okay. See, Dr. Saab, in Western media and many Western institutes, they project India as a religious intolerant country. So ICCR has taken up any project to remove this stigma on India.
No, no. What is the stigma? If you could just explain.
Religious intolerance in
Ah.
India is increasing. That is what their research and their media and many people say, organizations say about it.
If I may humbly put it, that many foreign media people, I mean, those who are sitting over there and they don't have their representatives here, I'm afraid they go by whatever our English media here says. And that is their perhaps prime source of, I would say, understanding or lack of understanding about India, whatever it is. But given the fact that India is not perceived the way it should have been, we are conscious of this fact. And last year, for example, ICCR conducted a series of seminars about democracy in India and its success. And in the course of deliberations, because 2-3 primary important subjects we touched upon in these seminars, which happened at 8 different places, we also talked about the misperception that is wantonly or otherwise created about India, including issues about the so-called religious intolerance and everything. But we have been vehemently putting it, and in many of my presentations, for example, recently I had the chance of making a presentation at Hudson Institute in Washington, D.C., and there also I spoke about it, and I believe that India requires to tell the world in so many words, loud and clear, that our democratic traditions originate from our spiritual democracy. We are a spiritual democracy essentially. We never tried to adopt any kind of hegemonic or monopolistic view in so far as spiritualism is concerned. And therefore, Ekam Sat Vipra Bahuda Vadanti has been the basic philosophy of India towards spiritual issues. And therefore, the spiritual democracy provided us a foundation for the success of our political democracy. And on the basis of that, we are now marching towards, as what Dr. Ambedkar had envisioned, social and economic democracy. So we have to put these things in that perspective. So in a land which is known for spiritual democracy, there absolutely has no scope for any kind of religious intolerance. Some aberrations here and there cannot definitely be the basis for drawing a sweeping conclusion. That is the position, and that we have been putting across the academic community and other communities very loudly and clearly wherever we get a chance.
Thank you, Dr. Sam.
In this context, Vinayji, I would like to make a request on behalf of the large membership of the Foreign Correspondents Club. And I'm glad to mention, and I'm so glad you requested him. And we're very happy to see the presence here, muted presence of Dr. Vijay Chothaiwale from BJP. He's the head of international and diaspora affairs. But what we'd like to see is more interactions with people such as yourselves. You see, you talk about how whether media or through social media, this messages get around. So if you want to spread the message of religious tolerance, secularism, and many other myths or wrong ideas that people get from small incidents, it is not just upon the media to start looking for and reporting, but it is also incumbent upon the government to make that outreach to us. We sometimes feel that we need more interaction with people such as yourself. So we would encourage, and I hope you can send that message. We have the MEA briefings, but then those are not enough. You know, we can have private conversations. They don't have to be all the time on the record, but they could be off record. I know Mr. PM Narayanan, our treasurer, and he's from German television. He has a question. So PM, please welcome. Anil, can you unmute yourself, PM?
Just 1 second. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
I hope.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. It's a wonderful presentation. Thank you so much for that. And as you said, it's right. India is an experience, and people are coming here to have this experience. So my question to you is that: have you ever tried to document some of these experiences who are coming from outside? And that would be a very interesting idea. I mean, you said it in your lecture. You're trying to do it, but have you tried it? Like what they learned from India and what experience they have got?
Yeah, I'll share with you that on the occasion of the 70th Foundation Day of ICCR, in fact, we announced a kind of essay competition for all those students who have studied in India and now are back to their places. And there are thousands of such people. There are in Afghanistan, in Sri Lanka, in Bangladesh, in Bhutan, Nepal, and even far off countries like, say, for example, Fiji, Mauritius, so on and so forth. So their experiences are really, I mean, a kind of documentation about all the positive things that they have to say about India. Of course, there are some people who have some bad experiences, they have penned them, but their number is too small. And basically, that helps us to appreciate as to how the younger generation perceives India, which is a great learning. And therefore, we need to make some amendments also, the way we present our own country to them. For example, students come over here, they stay in hostels and they spend some 4, 5, 6 years. They fall in love with India. They are enamored by the vibrancy, the colorfulness, and so on and so forth. But they don't get any chance to experience the family life in India. Now we are trying to incorporate that particular segment also when during the Diwali vacations and other vacations, they have some free time, whether we can request some host families to have these students coming to their places and maybe, if possible, staying with them as well. So that is how we have to take India to the, I would say, younger generation friends of India, because this is a huge amount of goodwill. Today, for example, whether Sri Lanka,
Absolutely.
Bangladesh, Nepal, Afghanistan, in most of these countries, their presidents or prime ministers are alumni of Indian institutions. And therefore, we have to work towards, and today, as everybody knows that even several other countries, there are people of Indian origin who are occupying key positions in the governments, including in the UK for that matter. So we have to work towards that. Yeah.
Can I just add a small point here? I mean, maybe a crazy idea. I was more interested to ask this experience part of it, like, what do they actually experience and the way we can document it so that we can analyze it better. For example, I just give a crazy idea, like maybe in the international airports, we can have a experience booth, because most of them are flying back from one of these terminals, and we can have set up a experience booth where whoever is interested, they can go and share their experience through a video camera or something, which you can record it. I mean, if you get 1,000 experience from different people from across the world, we can really analyze it, and we can fine tune many of our presentations also in the later stage.
No, it's a brilliant idea, Narayananji. But for that, as I said, we will have to break silos. For example, tourism people will have to coordinate with institutions.
Absolutely. You are right. You are right. Yes.
To reach out up to them. Today, what happens? Tourism is just hosting them here, putting them in a hotel, taking them for sightseeing, and that's all. But India is not only sightseeing. India is not only beaches. India is not only mountains. India is more than that. That if it doesn't immerse in our consciousness, then these things are looked at as crazy ideas, as you rightly described. But it's a very, very relevant idea, and I'm sure, if not in the immediate future, but sometime we will be able to put forth proposals of this kind with the ministries and try to kind of translate them into reality.
We have 3 quick questions, Vinayji. One from, I was waiting for Mr. Tim Witcher from AFP. Anil, can you unmute him? Tim, can you unmute yourself? Go ahead.
Okay. Good evening, sir. Thank you for your speech. It's a great honor to listen to you tonight. One of the burning issues in the world at the moment is the coronavirus. And I think the Ayush Ministry has said, it helps to combat that. Can you shed any light on this at all, on any way that it will help us?
Well, Ayush Ministry has definitely promoted some of the preventive medicines, basically to take care of your sore throat, which perhaps is the starting point of catching this particular infection. And therefore, they have come out with some advisory kind of, they have recommended some set of medicines also. But as I said, the clinical research around their efficacy is still not complete, and therefore nobody can conclusively say anything about it. But as it happens with Ayurvedic medicines, they don't harm, they don't have any side effect at all. And therefore, one can safely consume them and try to be protecting himself or herself from the onslaught of corona. That is for sure. And the people who are consuming are considered, and perhaps there is a reason to believe so, are less prone to the attack of coronavirus.
There was a likely question from Miss Ruchita Berry. Is she still there? Ruchita ji? Hello? Ruchita ji, you wanted to ask a question. You are already unmuted. I think she's not able to listen to us.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Venkat.
Dr. Sahasrabudde, we have been thinking at the FCC that the media plays a very important role in helping people form ideas about what a particular country is and all that. So in South Asia, we have been thinking about an exchange program where journalists from the neighboring countries will come and spend a month working on a newspaper or a TV channel and live in India, then get around to see the country, go back with better understanding of our country, and that will be reflected in the way they will report or write about India. In the same fashion, Indian journalists should also be sent to Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Bangladesh, China, Bhutan, Afghanistan, the neighboring countries, SAARC, South Asia, so that they get to spend a month working for a newspaper or a television channel in that country and see how things work there, come back with a better understanding of what that country is all about, and that will help the the newspaper and the journalists themselves to be able to write in a informed fashion about that country. So we have been thinking about this. Would the ICCR consider collaborating with us by helping us create some kind of a fund which will take care of the airfares and the accommodation? We will make sure that journalists who come into India, they will be put up in a newspaper or TV channel. We will take up that responsibility, but it will not cost a lot of money. Journalists may have to spend just 1 month in India, or Indians abroad in the same fashion, and so it will mean maybe a couple of $1,000 airfares and accommodation in a hotel, and things like that. Would the ICCR consider promoting something like this and consider collaborating with the FCC, Dr. Sahasrabudde? Thank you.
Well, all good ideas are very welcome. So there is no reason why we should not be supportive of these kinds of ideas. But the mission of ICCR is basically to evolve, as I said, understanding about India, Indian culture, Indian civilization, and Indian traditions as well. And therefore, if to that end, this kind of an exercise is going to concretely serve anything, I think any such thing is very welcome. But even in the absence of this kind of a mechanism, I believe perhaps you would agree with my proposition that foreign correspondents or people who are representatives, they may be Indians as well, of foreign journals who are here, also required to be taken around in the country. There are so many good things that are happening, but unfortunately, everything has become so very Delhi-centric. For example, women empowerment. Number of thousands of self-help groups formed by women coming together in tribal areas, in rural areas, in the interiors. They are doing wonders, but nobody knows about that. There are several social service projects that are happening. Nobody knows about that. There are several projects about local self-government, for example, at the Gram Panchayat level and even in municipalities. And some innovative things are happening. Nobody knows about that. And therefore, this particular awareness about all that very positive.
We lost your audio for some reason. You've lost your audio.
Yeah. Hello. Hello. Am
Yeah.
I?
Yeah.
Now
Yeah,
you
yeah.
got it.
Now
Yeah.
it's here.
So all these things also, I mean, we need to work on these issues as well. And even on that count, because the misperception about India, and to clear that misperception, on that front, there is such a huge backlog. I mean, a few years back, I came across a seminar title. The seminar was being held in California in some university over there. And the title of the seminar was, I mean, I was aghast when I read that particular title. It was about bride burning and son preference traditions in India.
Go
Can you imagine?
on.
And
Indeed.
we are not conscious of this. We don't know that we don't know, unfortunately.
Very true. One last question, Vinayji, from Ruchita Berry. Madam Berry, can you unmute yourself and ask your question?
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ruchita Berry from Institute for Manohar Parikar Institute for Defense Studies and Analysis. I would like to ask a question. This year, we were supposed to host the fourth India-Africa Forum Summit. So, were there any plans about enhancing India's soft power in Africa? Because Africa is one region where we have, long tradition of cultural connectivity. So, you have talked about several ways in which we can enhance our soft power. What are your views in enhancing our soft power vis-a-vis the African countries?
Yeah. I believe when it comes to continents like Africa or some other countries which are kind of more known as developing countries, I believe yet another dimension which requires to be evolved is what I describe as development diplomacy. For example, India's initiative in forming the International Solar Alliance was something very unique. And now we are also going to have an alliance about disaster relief management and issues around that. So this is the way we can enhance our soft power as well. Many in the Khadi Commission, the chairperson and others were telling me that Khadi products are doing a brisk business in several African countries. Now it is the job of the ICCR to provide them some support by taking Mahatma Gandhi and his philosophy about rural industries, village industries, cottage industries to countries like maybe Tanzania or South Africa and so on and so forth. So that is what we are doing. We are in collaboration with Khadi Commission and we are planning to do something. In fact, this year, let me reveal at this occasion that this year being the Gandhi 150th anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi, birth anniversary, sometime around December, and hopefully by that time things will be normal, we are going to organize a Asian Artisans Assembly in Varanasi, where local traditional artisans who are working in two streams, basically coming from these two channels. One is textile and the other one is pottery. We are bringing all these Asian artisans, their representatives, I mean, maybe about 100 of them together. And Indian artisans also will be there and they will exchange their art, they will exchange their designs, they will exchange their technologies, and many more possibilities are likely to emerge out of that. So unfortunately, these issues were never on the agenda of ICCR so far. It was only around classical music and classical dance, which are also good things, but not enough. Indian culture is much, much beyond that. And our village artisans, whether they are potters or weavers, they are also the representatives of Indian culture. And in that sense, we are taking this shape. Africa is definitely very high on our agenda, and we will work towards Africa on these lines as well.
Well, thank you very much because, and Ruchita ji, thank you for asking this question because we do have online, I see some representatives from African missions here. And they are important members, diplomat members of our club. But thank you so much. I know we've gone well beyond our time limit and we do appreciate the inputs, the interaction. And as I requested you, and I'm renewing my request, please continue the interactions. Please make them more frequent. I would also pitch in a request to Vijay Chothaiwala-ji that we hope to welcome him soon or by himself and talk about other things. But thank you very much for making the time. And I would like Venkat to formally which we will send to you. We usually give a memento to everybody who visits our club, but we will make sure it reaches your office, Venkat.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Let me also thank you all and express my deep sense of gratitude. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sahasrabudde. It was a pleasure listening to you and hearing your views. And we would like this coordination and cooperation between the ICCR and the FCC to continue in future. Let us have regular interactions once every month, 2 months, 3 months. Our club, we have a cafe, a kitchen, bar, lawn. You can come with people. The cultural troops which you bring to India, they can perform in our club also, so that the foreign correspondents get to see their performances and all that. So you're participating as a special guest today. So we will be pleased to make you an honorary member of the club. Your membership card will be ready and it will reach you in due course of time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you all for participating.
Muniji.
And we are closing the meeting now.